made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Don't make mistakes in the test. Listen to my channel, become fluent and perfect. Hi, it's me again, Tai the Test Queen. It's so good to be back. I love making these videos. It is so fun, like doing my makeup, sipping my water, and just teaching, because I love teaching. I love teaching higher levels. I love teaching advanced English, TOEFL, IELTS, and by saying that, on this channel, I've already said what I'm going to do, but I'm also going to focus on advanced English, advanced grammar in the future. So in the beginning, I'm just going to focus on the tests and tips and tricks that I've learned, that I'm teaching my students, free for all, just here on YouTube. Today we're going to do TOEFL listening question types. Get a piece of paper, because I'm going to give you some valuable notes, and it's also good practice, because for TOEFL listening, the most important thing is to take notes. I've had one student, I'm not going to name him, but one student who's currently not in Taiwan anymore, who never takes notes, and he does really well. That is not common. Like, I have to take notes. You should see my notes. And in the future, I'm going to do listening questions with you. I'll make a video of me doing a listening question and explain how I go and how I do and take notes so you can see my notes. It's a mess, but it works for me. I understand it. Sorry, there's wig hair in my necklace. My notes work for me. Your notes should work for you. Find words, find shorter phrases, find symbols, something to help you take notes faster, better, easier. And at the end of the day, you are the only person who has to understand your notes, because you're not even going to walk out with your notes. You have to give your notes back. If you do the online version of TOEFL, you're going to have to write on a piece of paper covered in film or plastic, and you have to show them that you wipe it off. So, and you have to do it with a marker when you do it, the online version. So you have to wipe it off, an erase marker. The TOEFL listening test it's kind of long. It can be a little hard sometimes. They will never ask you something that you should know. So don't worry about that. Don't think, oh, I don't know anything about electrical currents or movies or arts or science. I don't know how to answer this. No, they will not ask you anything that you need to know. This is an English test. I've said this before and I will say it again. They don't test your knowledge, they test your English ability, and in this section they teach your listening ability. But I feel they test your note-taking ability more than your listening ability, because you do have to take notes. So get yourself a piece of paper. I'm going to go through the 8 question types and briefly explain how they work, how to answer them, and let's go. The question types are divided into 3 categories, right? The first part is basic comprehension. That is how much you understand from the listening. And question 1 will either be just content or just purpose. I've never seen them together in the same test. Just content just means overall. They ask you the overall idea. So you have to listen to what they're talking about. These are often in the lectures, sometimes in the student-professor questions, but you will see. The next one is a just purpose question. A just purpose question is, why did the student go to the professor? Why did the professor do this, say this? What is the reason that the student visits the professor? So sometimes you will get a question and a student will go to a professor to ask for help with a project, and then eventually they start talking about a different way to approach the project, right? So then a just purpose question will be, why did the student go to see the professor to ask for help with a project? What did they talk about? Just content question will be, they talked about different methods of answering this question. So it can change. You have to listen. Is it why did they go or what did they talk about, right? So just content, just purpose, overall idea or overall reason of this. They're always the first question. So just answer it. I feel for these questions, you will not even look at your notes. It's something you will remember. The next one is the tricky one, and the most questions are unfortunately detailed questions. So detailed questions, not unfortunately, if you can listen to it for details, it's easy. And if you take good notes, it can be very easy. So detailed questions, they will ask you a specific detail, and you have to remember something. You have to remember something the professor said or something they talked about and answer the question. So when they talk, you have to listen and you have to take notes of details, take notes of events. For example, the student goes to the professor for whatever reason and they talk about a graduation party, and then the professor will give a list of reasons why the student should help or shouldn't help. And one of those reasons could be a detail. So make sure you write down the details, right? Write details. My secret to answering TOEFL listening is take notes of details and listen carefully to the rest. Don't focus too much on notes. I've had students who would start at the top and just write everything down that they hear, and then they don't listen. They're just writing. And at the end of the day, they have a bunch of words on paper. They don't know where the words go. They cannot put them together in context. So be careful. Don't do that. I usually, when I teach this class, I will look at my students' notes. I'm like, that's too much. That's not enough. That's too much. Erase. You have to take better notes. It's very important not to write too much so you don't listen. But it's very important that you write down all the details. How do you do this? You do this by practicing. And you don't only have to practice TOEFL, right? There are a lot of TOEFL resources online that you can practice, but I've had a student just this week ask me how he can improve his listening because he practices listening questions every day and it doesn't get better for him. I'm like, don't only do TOEFL listening, do other stuff as well. Find TED Talks. TED Talks is very easy, like very easy listening. Find something you're interested in on TED Talks. Don't go for the ones you're not interested in. Find something you're interested in, like listen to a podcast, listen to TED Talks, listen to a short documentary or watch a short documentary on YouTube or wherever and listen carefully and take notes. And then at the end, force yourself to write a summary. Yeah, I'm saying write a summary. It's not a writing tip, it's a listening tip. So then you write a summary about what you've just heard. If you don't have time to write, you can also listen to a TED Talk, a video, a podcast, whatever, and after, while you're listening, take notes, and then immediately after say, okay, the professor was talking about this, or this person, this celebrity, this influencer. They were talking about this, and they said this. So then you verbally speak out what they say. I feel when you learn TOEFL, when you learn IELTS, when you learn English, being verbal is such an important thing. Like, learn out loud. Don't learn in your head. That's why learning in a library is good. But if you can learn somewhere where you are able to speak and able to say words, where sounds come out of your mouth, that would be an ideal environment. So listen carefully and then summarize in writing, in speaking, and it will also really help you for TOEFL speaking, right? So TOEFL speaking, that's basically what you're going to do. So it's going to help you for everything. Very valuable tip, but I got sidetracked. Let's go back to the questions. The next section of listening questions, we have pragmatic understanding, and we have function and speaker's attitude. Function questions are questions where they will give you, they will replay a part of the lecture, a part of what the person said, and you have to figure out why they said that. What is the function of what was being said, right? You have to almost make an inference, you have to infer, but we'll get to that. It's not an inference question. You have to listen carefully to what they said, how they said it, or what did they not say? What did they imply, right? So that is a function question. What is the function of that sentence that the professor said? The next one under pragmatic understanding is speaker's attitude. How does the speaker feel about this? How does the professor feel about this method? And these questions are kind of easy because you will hear the professor will discuss this method for space travel, and then she will say, oh, I don't think this was the best way, even though at that time people thought it was groundbreaking. So that is obviously her feelings towards something, right? And that is a speaker's attitude. You have to address what their attitude was. So then the answer would be the professor didn't think it was the most effective way of traveling around in space. By the way, I'm just making all these topics up, like traveling around in space. There are space topics. But anyway, the next set of questions, or the next set of question types, is connecting information. And the first question is organization. So let me just tell you what I've told all my students, and I still say this. Organization is why. What was the plan? It's not a purpose question, but in my head, I go through this, right? So the professor is at home preparing the lecture for the next day, and the professor thinks, okay, if I use this phrase or this example, I can explain it to my students in an easier way. So then that is organization, right? The professor plans, organizes their lecture. So the professor will use either examples or problems or connections between two things to explain something, or the overall organization of a lecture. Think of it as a plan. So I say so much. I say so much. It's annoying me. Like before, I used to have a podcast and I said like so much, so I worked on like. Now I realized I say so much, so I need to work on so. And I'm not saying so, which is a very common word in English classes here. How do you feel? So. No, so. The next question, connecting content. So connecting content, it's almost like a prose summary question in the reading, or like a fill in the table question, because often here you will get a summary or a table you have to fill in. Basically, you have to use all the information that you got from the listening section and fill that into a table or into a chart or something of this sort. It will be more than 1 point, and there also at the end of the listening question, there will be an overall. You have to connect the content, right? You have to put the information that you've received together into a chart or a table or something. Basically, it's a summary of what you've read, of what you've listened to, not what you've read. Made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Don't make mistakes in the test. Listen to my channel, become fluent and perfect. The last question here is making inferences. So inference question could also be, why did someone say this? It can also be a replay question. And it's the same as in the reading. In the reading, we have inference questions. In the listening, we have making inference questions. And you have to infer, you have to think why someone said something or what they're going to do next. For example, in this student going to the professor question, the student could go to the professor to tell him or her that they're unable to finish this project by the deadline. And then the professor would say, well, it would be unfair of me to extend the deadline for you, but have you seen there are a bunch of books in the library which covers this, which will help you do this? And the student's like, no, nobody told me, I had no idea. And the professor's like, yes, blah, blah, talk about these books. And the student's like, that is amazing. I will hand in my project on time. And then the student leaves. So where's the student going right now? To the library. Did they say that? No, but they talked about the books in the library, and then they discuss how the student can finish his or her work on time. So they will go to the library, they will finish it. These are the listening question types you will get. It's very useful to practice these tests, right? Practice TOEFL tests in class, online, and make notes, because you will see, oh, I always make mistakes with function questions, or with inferences questions, or with connecting content questions, or with organization questions, speaker's attitude questions, and then focus on improving them. Then when you do listen to whatever you're listening to, the TED Talks I talked about, or the videos, or CNN, whatever, make sure you listen for inferences, make sure you listen for function, for organization, to details, if details is your weakness. So make sure to listen to these different things. So that's why I always go through this every single class, and that way students can identify problem areas and work on those problem areas. Because in class, I have a lot of students, there's not really time for individual help, so students are responsible for helping themselves. If it's one-on-one, it's very easy. If it's a small class, it's very easy. I can go through this, I can help students with their own weaknesses, and that is ideally what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to show you how to identify your weaknesses and to help you to eliminate them. Eliminate the areas that you are having trouble with. They will never disappear, but eliminate the trouble you're having with them. I will also in the future do more TOEFL listening, do examples with you, do real TOEFL tests with you online. On here on the screen you will see the test and not my face, maybe in the corner, and make sure you learn to take notes. So what you need to get from this video is the different question types. Remember I say take notes, so hopefully by now you have a list of all the question types and like a short summary in your own words how you understand them. It's really valuable information to know these question types, but the most important thing, if you take one thing away from this video, it is notes. Learn to take notes, learn to write more so you understand it, right? Learn to write easier for you. Note-taking is a skill. Note-taking is an invaluable skill that you need to learn and you need to use and access this skill when you do tests. Anywhere now. Most of you are doing TOEFL or IELTS to go study overseas, Japan, Europe, America, Australia. You need TOEFL. But the thing is, like I'm teaching you the test now, but at the end of the day, you're going to get to that university, right? And you're going to be taking classes. And what are you going to have to do in those classes? You're going to have to remember what the professor says. So you're going to have to learn to take notes in class. You're going to have to take notes now. You're going to have to take notes in the future. You're going to have to take notes. So your journey with English is one filled with notes. If you can't take notes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to pay attention in class. It's going to be hard to retain information. So practice now, practice notes. Teach yourself short phrases, pictures, right? Like instead of writing person, maybe you can draw a little face. Whatever's faster for you. Draw the male, female symbol if you want to write he or she. Do something that's very fast for you. Draw arrows. Draw pictures. Hieroglyphs. The Egyptians were not wrong. They did hieroglyphs for a reason. So do something that works for you. Write down words, but don't care about your grammar. I've also had students tell me, it's like, oh, sorry, don't look at my notes, the grammar's wrong. I'm like, I don't care about your grammar. I don't care about your spelling. Even though the spelling was horrendous, I didn't care. The student understood it. When I take notes, I will make spelling mistakes because I'm not going to, like professor, I'm not going to spell professor out. I write P-R-O-F. That's just for me. You can write professor, maybe draw glasses. I don't know. That's a stereotype, which we'll get to at a further point when we're doing vocabulary. Okay, so that is it for today. I've been rambling on too much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Instagram at shadybeardedlady. You can leave a comment on this video. TikTok, BNTaitai. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions. If you find my videos helpful, or if you want me to focus on more of a certain thing, I would gladly do that. I'm making these videos not for myself, I'm making them for you. So I hope you learned something today, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you're hearing this, you're still at the end of the video. Thank you so much. Leave a like and a subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Mwah. Little heart, little friends, and good luck with your notes and listening. Mwah, mwah, mwah.